Welcome to Leadership Comes Alive, brought to you by Leadershape Global. This is the show that will help you develop transpersonal leadership skills that improve business relationships and results. Learn to lead beyond the ego and bring about better performing, sustainable organizations. Accelerated learning in a virtual environment will make sure your leadership comes alive.
Hello everyone, this is Danielle Grant from Leadershape. Thank you for being with us today. And joining me today is our chairman, John Knights. And we're going to be speaking about how purpose is especially important for leaders during the current pandemic, particularly when we're reimagining the future of the world of work and our organizations. John, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Good to be here again.
So we've got some questions for you around why purpose has been thrown into sharp relief as an important aspect for people to connect to during the pandemic. So in the past, organizations have focused on their mission and vision, but we've seen a growing trend towards a focus on organizational purpose. So what's the difference between these concepts?
Okay, so first of all, it's worth mentioning that there's often confusion about the definitions of vision and mission. And in fact, we always use a series of easy to define statements instead, which we call a rose by any other name. And I'll just read you out those 5 statements. One is a short, externally focused, memorable statement of what we do. Second, an externally focused statement of how we want the world to perceive us. 3, a focused statement of the reason for the existence of the organization. And of course, that is purpose. The 4th one, internally focused statement of how we work. And finally, what are the goals we want to achieve? And we find that this covers the whole essence of vision and mission without actually using those words. However, in essence, vision is about what, mission is about how, and purpose is about why. So the third statement I mentioned, which was a focused statement of the reason for the existence of the organization, is what purpose is about.
So why is organizational purpose so important?
Well, it's interesting that so many companies are now focusing on purpose. I know that even VCs investing in startups are today more interested in purpose than they are in vision. To some extent, it's because it's fashionable. It's management speak, like agile and TQM and things like that. But it doesn't change the fundamentals. We should also remember that in August 2019, there were 181 CEOs of major US companies who signed up to a commitment to profits with purpose. However, a peer-reviewed academic paper 1 year later tells us that none of these CEOs actually implemented anything meaningful. The real importance is because purpose awakens our spiritual intelligence. That's the why. Whereas vision awakens our emotional intelligence and mission connects to our rational intelligence. So purpose connects with us at a deeper level. It connects to our values and a deep human desire of wanting to do good, which for us humans is at the very level of consciousness and can be at very differing levels of consciousness. So to have a purpose means we go beyond a focus on shareholders to consider all the stakeholders in our organization or for our organization, including the planet.
So why do you think the purpose has become a bigger focus for leaders during the COVID crisis?
Well, I think that in times of uncertainty and anxiety and even fear, we want something we can hold on to give us hope for and belief in the future. I think also that the pandemic is making us question whether the world as we know it is what we want for the future. It feels like a time for reinvention and renewal. And once we get through this crisis, that we'll really want to have a purpose. When we consider purpose as what really matters, there was a Wisconsin University study that showed that higher levels of purpose were better for maintaining good health, especially in relationship to depression and anxiety. And that's particularly important in times of crisis and uncertainty.
Well, we all know that the stress that is being generated at a higher level than normal is compromising people's immune system. So anything that helps us to strengthen our immune system and keep going has to be a good thing. Just a thought for you today. Leadershape have an ICF accredited transpersonal coach training course. If you or someone you know may wish to know more about it, please visit leadershapeglobal.com/TLC. Let's take a look at purpose at an individual level now. What's the reason you think that it's important for everyone to develop clarity around their purpose?
I guess it's a little bit the same as we discussed with organizations. We need a what, or what we want to do or achieve in our life. And we need a how we're going to achieve it. But mostly we need a why. In transpersonal leadership, we split values into two types, personal conscience and self-determination. Whereas personal conscience is about who I am, self-determination is about what I'm going to do with who I am. And that is driven by our purpose. It gives us motivation and energy and courage. And for many people, this courage will change as our life develops and as we develop as human beings. Our purpose will also be influenced by our ego. In what do we want for ourselves? But ultimately, purpose should be about what we can give to humanity or the planet, something beyond our own personal gain. Of course, that's much easier if we've got security and stability.
Yes, we do tend to revert to basic survival mechanisms when everything around seems threatening, and I guess that's only natural.
Exactly.
Do you feel that it's important to align the organizational and individual purpose, and why?
Well, I think it's becoming increasingly important. In the past, most working people were considered as sort of human machines who followed orders. And it still happens in many places. But in the 21st century, in the information age, where people are more educated and informed, more and more people will want to work somewhere that treats them with respect and fairness, and also in doing something for the benefit of the planet in one way or another. There's a lot of research that shows that millennials and younger generations even around the world put more importance on purpose and the working environment than older generations. It has to do with the growing sophistication of society too. And there's just one bit of research I'd just like to mention here. It shows that companies with higher levels of purpose outperform the market by 5 to 7% per year. And they also grow faster and have higher profitability. So it's pretty important for the organization as well.
Wow, those are interesting figures. You'd have thought everybody would have rushed to ensure they are purposeful with that.
Exactly.
So what happens when the organization and individual purpose are not aligned?
Well, if they're not aligned, then the individual's not going to be motivated and they're not going to go that extra mile. PwC did a study that found that 73% engagement, that there was 73% engagement in purpose-driven companies, but only 23% engagement in those that are not. We need to remember that productivity in the end is about getting people to give that discretionary effort, which they won't do if they're not engaged and their own purpose is not aligned. So even for the self-interested leader, having a purpose will have a direct impact on the bottom line. But of course, the purpose has to be genuine. It has to be heartfelt and core to the organization. Otherwise, people will suss it out. And that's where many organizations fall down. It's just about marketing spiel.
Yes, I think we've all seen instances when organizations have a wonderful set of words on a wall or on a website, and you wouldn't know that those were anything to do with the organization if you walked through the door.
Exactly.
So how does an individual go about determining their own purpose? So what would your top tips be?
I think that probably more people have a purpose than actually realize it. Like most things in the spiritual zone, they're non-conscious. And of course, an important part of the transpersonal leadership journey is to increase our level of consciousness. Those who know what they want to do in life finding your purpose is going to be less difficult. The question to ask yourself is, why do I want to do this? If I want to be a singer, for example, is it because I want to be famous, or because I want to make lots of money, or because I want to make people happy, or because I need a platform to promote human rights? There can be lots of different reasons. And it's really important that we go through that process of asking ourselves what we want and why we want it. And as for tips, maybe start off with these 4 questions for yourself. Do I have a broader reason for my actions than the actions themselves? Is the direction I'm taking consistent with my values? Do I think strategically about my life and what's to be achieved for the greater good? And finally, do I understand my goal in life and the purpose it represents? They're deep questions and they require deep thinking, but I think they'll get people on the right road.
Yes, it doesn't sound like it's a work of a couple of minutes of scribbles to get to that, but certainly the lockdowns and the situation we've been in these last months provide a space for people to reflect more deeply. And let's hope that after hearing you today, our listeners will pick up those ideas and start to go forward with them. This is Leadershape Comes Alive. I'm Danielle Grant, and we've been speaking with Leadershape's chairman, John Knights. We've been talking about how aligning personal and organizational purpose is a powerful driver for long-term sustainability and well-being. Thank you, John, for talking to us today.
Thank you.
And that's all for today's episode of Leadership Comes Alive. Thank you all for listening. Leadershape have an ICF accredited transpersonal coach training course starting in January with just a couple of spots left. If you or someone you know may wish to know more, please visit leadershapeglobal.com/TLC. Until next time, when we'll be speaking with Caroline Dowd-Higgins about purpose and young emerging leaders, this is Danielle Grant from Leadershape Global.
You have been listening to Leadership Comes Alive, brought to you by Leadershape Global. Join us next time as we continue to explore transpersonal leadership skills that bring about better performing, sustainable organizations. We'll talk with you next time on Leadership Comes Alive. Visit leadershapeglobal.com.